Hi, my name is Chris. I'm a French teacher at OuiCommunicate, and in this video we'll talk about why your large-scale online language learning website isn't delivering the results. Your large-scale online language learning website, say that 10 times fast. Now there's a number of reasons for this, and in this video we'll talk about just one. And it's important before we start to keep in mind that the technology wasn't invented for the specific purpose of language learning. So at the origin there's already a problem to examine here. We had the technology, such as building apps, building websites, and with this technology we wondered, hey, how about using it for language learning? Perhaps I can make an app, perhaps I can make a website on which hundreds of tutors connect with language learners. So keeping this in mind, we'll now talk about one major structural problem that you will absolutely regrettably encounter on all the large-scale language learning websites. So to do this, I propose we put ourselves in the shoes of an owner of such a multi-language website and look at the difficulties they'll face and which will absolutely impact your learning of languages. I can't say it enough. Usually for the worst, regrettably. It doesn't give me any joy to say this, but as an outsider of the industry I wouldn't have known either. It just so happens I'm an insider of the industry because I teach languages professionally, but people aren't insiders to the industry, so many people aren't aware. So let's talk about one initial problem when you set out to create a language learning website. A company creates a language course, or wants to create a language course, and the first step is that they hire an anonymous team of tutors. You, the user, don't know who they hired. This creates an initial lack of trust, which I feel is quite important. So you don't know who these tutors are, nor even why they were selected, on which basis they were selected. At this early stage, the owner already has a dilemma to face. So the owner of the company isn't a language expert. Usually, when they hire the tutors, they have two options, and both are bad for the learner, regrettably. It's technically a dilemma. So they can tell the experts, the tutors that they hired, what to do, so they impose their creative vision that's going to revolutionize language learning. They impose their vision on something they know very little about. The second option is that they can give the experts full freedom to create a course as they want, which makes the course inconsistent, and I'll explain why. And even if the owner of the company is a language expert, they're likely not an expert in more than 2 languages, let's be realistic, by which I mean an expert in actually teaching those languages based on experience of several years. So we're talking about, in the best case, an expert in teaching 1, 2, perhaps 3 languages, which is already quite rare. This anonymous team of tutors, of teachers that's been hired, have to work together to build the course they were contracted to do. And they have to compromise towards a single point of view on how to teach this language. You get 6 German teachers together, well, they have to work together to create one course. So they have to reach a common point of view. And this already compromises the course's harmony for you from the start. When they've reached this harmony and the courses are built, the company owner has to give the green light. They have to say it's ready to be published, presumably on matters they understand very little about, or they wouldn't have hired the tutors to start with. Usually they're giving the green light on languages they don't master. So they have to say, for example, the owner of the company has to say, well, okay, the Japanese course is ready to go, it's ready to be published, but the owner of the company doesn't speak Japanese and has never taught Japanese, right? But they're still giving the green light to publish it. As a next step, this company is going to offer more than one language. Unless they want to stick to English, they're going to want to offer more than one language. So they hire a new separate team for every language they want to teach. This creates a different point of view, a different philosophy for each language, which of course leads to a massive lack of harmony between the languages on one same platform. This is nonsensical, especially in the case where the owner has imposed their vision on language learning. For example, the adventures of a little character, that might be their vision for revolutionary language teaching, the adventures of a little character that they simply decide to translate into as many languages. So they're bringing in more and more anonymous teachers for each language that you, the user, don't know about. You don't know who these people are, nor why they were selected. Were they the best in their field? Based on what? We don't know. The final layer of disharmony happens when the course has to be updated. So a new, different team is usually hired, and this new team brings in their own philosophy. You know, your course was built by 6 initial German teachers. Well, several years later, you have 6 more teachers coming in for German. And this team creates a new point of view. So they create a point of view on a point of view that further compromises the course's consistency. It compromises the course's consistency, but the company brings in new teams for each language they offer. Practically, we might choose to update the Japanese course. We've somehow decided to change something about it. It might be student feedback, it might be, I don't know, but the owner of the company has reached the decision, we need to update the Japanese course that they neither speak nor teach, and they have to bring in a new series of Japanese teachers. And all these updates still begs the question of how the owner judges that the updated work is better than the old work. How would they know? If they don't teach Japanese, Russian, French, German, how would they even know that the update is better than the old course? Especially if they're still not experts in teaching multiple languages, any of the languages or all of the languages that the website offers. The ultimate consequence of all this is that the learner, yourself, is left with a compromised, confusing product and must trust that the non-expert owner is making the right call somewhere in the midst of this cacophony. Okay, so now that we've outlined the problem, let's get real, as they say. Whether working with a disjointed online language platform is an issue is your own call. I think we have to be aware that in online language teaching these days, there's an overlap between playing and learning. It's perfectly alright to be involved in playing at language learning. It's everywhere, it's very popular, and I'm not mocking or disparaging the individual learner, but I'm rather blaming the industry who've abused their position of trust, since the user, yourself, really doesn't know. You're not an insider to the industry, so you wouldn't know. You're trusting the product you find, but I think it's a clear case of abuse of trust. It only becomes a problem if you're genuinely convinced, if you genuinely believe that you are seriously learning a language. If you're not aware that you're playing at language learning, it becomes an issue. As of itself, it's not an issue to play at language learning. Of course it's not. You see, but you have to be aware that you might be playing at language learning, you've trusted these platforms, you don't know, and it's going nowhere. This is why I say it can be an issue, but it doesn't have to be. And I'll say once more, I'm not mocking the individual learner. If you're an outsider to the industry, you wouldn't know. It's a very hard thing to figure out, that your online course is leading to nothing. You know, it seems easy, but it really isn't. My name's Chris from OuiCommunicate. I'm a French teacher for adults. I would never use any of the large-scale online language platforms. None of them. I wouldn't touch them. And I think that this message here in this video, in all modesty, I think it is important because too many people want to learn seriously. I meet many adults who want to learn seriously. They want to learn French, and they're caught in solutions that don't work, and it can take them several years before they realize it's not working. You know, they're playing at language learning, they're wasting time, and they don't know it. And I think if I was in your shoes, I would have wanted to know. I would have wanted someone to tell me, listen, there's an overlap between playing and learning, and you have to know which end of the spectrum you're on, you know. Learning's over here, playing's over there, so, okay. I hope you found this video useful. My name's Chris from OuiCommunicate. Find me at OuiCommunicate.com for French for adults. See you soon.